The views and opinions expressed in this podcast by the host or the guest do not necessarily reflect the views of Paranormal Buzz Radio or its sponsors. Use of any material produced by Paranormal Buzz Radio without express written consent is strictly prohibited. For information on everything Paranormal Buzz Radio has to offer, visit our website, paranormalbuzzradio.com. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Listener discretion is advised.
I think I've always believed in the paranormal, but the deeper I get in this field, the more questions I uncover. I started a program called Seeking the Paranormal in an effort to gain insight and dialogue from others interested in the same things as me. And while we've learned a lot together, the questions still remain. So I'm bringing my thoughts to the airwaves, and I've brought along my friends, Adam and John, to share in the fun. Together, we'll tackle the tough topics and debate the evidence as we continue to seek the paranormal. Welcome to Seeking the Paranormal, and this is going to be our first episode on Monday night that is pre-recorded. So thank you so much for joining us. We absolutely appreciate it. Tonight we are going to talk about one of my very favorite places to investigate, and that is Edinburgh Manor, located in Scotchgrove, Iowa. If you watch Ghost Adventures, you have certainly seen Edinburgh Manor, I'm sure. They featured the show, I want to say it's maybe been about 3 or 4 years ago now. But in all reality, the building's really active and it's a really cool place to go. And if you ever have the opportunity to do so, I absolutely encourage you to check it out. You will not be disappointed. Anyway, before we get to talking about Edinburgh Manor, let's check in with Darren and see what questions he's got for Stumping John.
Uh-oh.
Hi, Darren.
We got a full crew on here.
We do. How come I can't see you?
Nope.
Yay!
Oh, turn it off! Turn it off!
Oh, God. I might break it. Somebody's cut out, though, from the side of you, though, Sarah. Oh, there you are. I probably left all cut out. I don't know.
Hey, what's up with the bald heads?
I know. Seriously.
I don't have any hair up there, so what's the point of keeping it?
All right. Mr. Best, what do you have for us tonight?
See, it's been a while.
It has.
So there's a couple of things that are on my mind. One of them is phantom smells.
Ooh, we've had that.
I got one right now.
Oh, my God.
So I experienced my first phantom smell at this sale asylum by Sheboygan. It was just unusual. My wife was sitting on the floor, just being quiet as we're going through the investigations, and I got this old timey 1940s aroma around me. Mm-hmm. I'm like, what the heck is that?
Hang on a minute. I got a question.
Yeah.
What did the 1940s smell like, and how do you know?
And just the time period, because my grandma would have similar perfumes and stuff, and she's really, when she was alive, she would wear those really old kind of perfume. Because I asked her a long time ago. Huh?
Lily of the Valley, that's an old one.
Oh, I used to have Lily of the Valley perfume.
See?
But it was just, to me, personally, it just smelled like from a very older generation.
Yeah.
And it was unique because I've never smelled like this before. But, I have, but I've always smelled it around older folks.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was moving around and trying to get away from the smell, but it kept on following me. And I'm like, why won't this go away? Well, finally it went away, but what happened is, later on, I found out it was a nurse that hangs around in that wing. It went around the room and caught another guy across the hallway from me. The same kind of smell.
Oh, see, I was going to ask if it was maybe your grandma.
No, I don't think so. I haven't really experienced any of that stuff yet.
How many people with you?
What's that?
How many people were there?
There's about 20 people on this ship that were on an investigation. But only 2 of us, me and the other guy across the hallway, were the only ones to smell it.
Interesting.
And because when we were breaking off to go back to home base, and I'm like, did anyone smell this kind of weird kind of smell? And he's like, yeah, you smelled that too? I'm like, yeah, it just lingered and it wouldn't go away.
Mm-hmm.
And so come to find out when we got to home base, I talked to the guy that was running the event, and he's like, oh yeah, there's said to be a nurse that hangs out in that wing where we were just at. So it was a really cool experience.
Mr. Black, I'll let you comment, and then I'll share our experience.
Well, the question I have before we get to that is, so when the lady has passed on later in life, like in her 80s or whatever it was, how come that smell would come around as to where she was like in the 1940s? How does that work that way? How can they reproduce that smell? You know what I mean?
Well, I know how you can reproduce it, but I mean, here's the thing. So, hashtag here's the thing. I know you do that.
Yep.
You know, we're like on a podcast. No one can see you do that when you do it.
It's just
So, well, I mean, if that's what's happening, if ghosts are producing a scent, ties in. I have a theory that it ties in with the other thing. A lot of people say is, well, how come they're always wearing period costumes? And I think there's a very good theory that I like in that when you become, if there is an afterlife, when you die and your consciousness still exists, there is a theory that you are kind of in a dream state as far as. So what you dream about is, places you've been, who you were. I dream of driving. I dream of being at work. That's why hauntings show up at places where people were wearing the clothes they were wearing. And if smell is a thing, I think that ties in that way, in that you're wearing the perfume you wore.
Okay.
If that makes sense. I think, if there is, a conscious singularity somewhere, and it's manifesting, I think because you think of yourself the way you are, that's how you manifest, and that goes with, what you're wearing. The voices are the same as yours was, even though there's no reason it should be, to be honest with you, and stuff like that, what you're wearing, and it could, reach across into what you smell like. Mm-hmm. So that's my idea. If it's a thing, I think it ties into that theory.
I mean, the thing I've smelled in my own home was my uncle. Now, he liked peanuts a lot, so you'd smell peanuts.
And have you experienced the phantom smell?
Me?
Yeah.
No, and if I have, I'll be honest with you, I haven't even thought of it as a phantom smell. I thought that must be someone else. I mean, because you did.
Do you want to tell about which ties in with tonight?
Which one?
At Edinburgh. Oh my God. Okay, so he doesn't remember. The most impressive
He's
one.
been working too late.
Most impressive one for me. So when this would have been right when we first started. It was actually, I think, the first time we ever went to Edinburgh. So it was me and Adam and Chandral. And because the other people who came with us had left. That's right. And we went out the front door to go back to the quote unquote safe house and use the bathroom. And so there was nobody in the building. Mm-hmm. When we came back in that front hall area where you first walk in, it smelled like somebody had just freshly smoked a Marlboro Red cigarette. I mean, it was so strong. And we literally freaked out that somebody was in the building, and we checked everywhere, never did find anyone there. And we weren't gone that long. So for somebody to have stood there, smoked a cigarette, and then disappeared is pretty highly unlikely.
Doesn't John smoke?
He wasn't with us.
He wasn't with us. We didn't know.
Okay.
This was 2000.
It probably was 2012 or 2013, but it was so strong in there. We hadn't, not even a hint of cigarette smoke when we left. And it was, it was just so strong when we got back. It was crazy. It was literally the craziest thing. And we panicked that somebody was in the building. Panicked. I mean, like, we're scared. In fact, I think we left shortly after because we were worried that there was somebody there. We never did find anybody, but
It just
Obra man.
has
Right.
has anybody like that stayed there while they were working and stuff? Did you ask them if they smoked while they're staying
at the
place?
time, Cindy had just purchased the building like a couple months prior to that. And so she is just starting to let people in. And there were workers at that time. So she hadn't even started any type of repairs or anything to the building that I'm aware of.
Okay. I mean, you can also, there's been places where there's cigar smoke.
Yeah.
Heavy in people's homes, or, just you go into a home and they've never smoked in the house before, but yet you'll get a cigar smell.
Yeah.
Right.
That's one of the bigger ones that people do find is cigar smoke or something like that.
The only
What we're talking about.
at the Granger house when we were setting up Christmas decorations.
Oh yeah, we get the smell of body odor,
Body
like
odor.
old man BO every
Right.
once in a while in the Granger house.
And John's not even with us.
Well, that proves I'm not even with you. It's got to be you. You just incriminated yourself.
But yeah, Keith and I, when we were doing the Christmas tree this past Christmas season, we both smelled it. I mean, and honestly, it's what I would have expected Earl to probably smell like. So I don't know whether there's just a wafting random BO scent in that house. But it just is very random and very occasional. You'll smell it.
How does Dora take to that?
I mean, if that's what her man smelled like, she might like it. I don't know. Maybe that's why she likes Adam, because he doesn't stink like that.
Yeah,
I know Dora kind of rules the place, right?
Yes. Yep. That's her joint.
For some women, BO's an aphrodisiac. Did you know that?
I did, and it's not for me, so just letting y'all know.
I'm just saying, maybe for Dora it was.
I mean, and back then they didn't, I don't know, when did deodorant even become a thing?
That's a good question, because back then it was
That's recent.
it was probably very potent than what it is today.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because
Sorry,
there's
I-
different materials made.
Yeah. So I would imagine that's probably what Earl smelled like. Who knows though?
He didn't do any hard labor, though. Come on, he was the boss. He was the boss. There's no way he's getting. Oh no, you do it. I'll pay you for that.
Yeah, he actually ended up doing a lot of the washing. I think that whether she was really sick or whether she just said she was sick, he frequently ended up doing, he did a little bit of the cleaning, but they usually had people come over and do that. He helped with the wash a lot. He cut the grass. And then he talks about going over to the farm a lot and the stuff that they had to do over there. But Miss Dora did not do a whole lot.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've watched the live Facebook feed when Roland and those guys were there, so that's kind of how much I know a little bit about the place. I don't really know a whole much about it, except for the lives.
Yeah,
So-
well, hopefully sometime you'll be able to come out and check it out.
I hope so. I can convince my wife to drive down.
Oh,
There you
there
go.
you go.
So,
I wouldn't though, because you keep getting this BO smell. It's like really awful.
And it's not very good advertising, is it?
Right.
Old man Bill.
Yeah,
come to the Granger house. You get the strange BO smell.
you will get the ghostly armpits.
That's right. Yeah, that's what we all heard.
At least I'm hoping it's armpits.
Amen. Me too.
Or feet in your face, one or the other.
Oh.
Yeah.
I have a strange desire for Cheetos. I don't know why. Yes, I know what it is. The ghosts are all sitting naked on a beanbag eating Cheetos.
Oh my God. That's their dream state. I can imagine. Very nice. Very
That's-
nice.
Man,
So the other thing I have, do you have time for another one?
Go for it.
All right. So Now, this one I kind of was thinking about this one for the kind of last week, and I did throw it on a couple of shows.
That's okay.
So when you go to an investigation and your energy levels are kind of, right where they usually should be, not so, you're not hyped up.
Yeah.
Okay? So have you ever did an experiment where to see how the activity is, okay, the way how your energy level is, because the spirits feed off of that. Have you ever done a experiment where you or Adam or John would drink a energy drink and have like an energy bar and go back to the investigation and see if, now that your energy is heightened more, if that'll create more of a different atmosphere?
That's an interesting theory. I mean, that's a good way to test if they feed off of us, for sure.
Right.
No, I mean, my answer is no, but that's interesting. I hadn't thought about that.
I'd have to look into that and see how long it takes, because if you eat or drink something like that, that's chemical energy.
Mm-hmm.
How long does that take to, in your body to transform into actual real energy? So, and then the other thing is, okay, if they feed off energy, what kind of energy? Because if you wanted to test that, there's another way of doing it. You could just take a pair of dumbbells and just start working out while you're there, because that's muscle energy, which is electric energy. Would you get more activity by heaving dumbbells? There's electrical energy going through your muscles the whole time, if that's what they're feeding off.
That's interesting.
Or is it mental energy? If it's mental energy, take a puzzle book, start doing Sudoku or whatever else.
Yeah.
So,
too stupid for that.
So the other thing too is how water creates energy, right?
What? Say that again, Derek.
So you know that water creates energy as well, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Depends.
So how would you be able to do that in an investigation where you can take some kind of like a bucket of water or a tub of water and see if anything could come across with that? But with the trouble I have with that, and that's just an idea, because I don't know if there's like a lake or whatever close by. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just kind of wonder how that would play into stuff too, if you have to like put something in the water to kind of, maybe give it some energy or that kind of way.
You know what's funny? You know what's funny about you mentioning water? So doing the research for my book that's taking forever to write now all of a sudden, but I'm going back, I'm trying to get all the narratives of what people think paranormal is and everything, and obviously you hit religion, and you go historically what people thought things were. Now, the word soul is, the origins of the word soul is like Sila or Siola, and what that actually literally means comes from water. So, I guess originally they thought our souls come from water, and if you look at Celtic and Roman, and you go back far enough, they used to break things, throw them in lakes and in springs. But also, if you go all the way across the world to the Aztecs, they used to do the same damn thing, throw things in lakes as often. Now, that's all very interesting, but what really got me when I sat and thought about it was, if you think about the theory of evolution, life came from water.
Yeah.
So, how the hell does that fit together? And did they know it, or was it just a lucky guess?
That's interesting.
So water is, water is a part of tracing stuff back. Water's somehow important.
Yeah.
Water doesn't chemically act like it should either. I did a video of that on the Facebook page. So when it freezes, it expands. I mean, it does all kinds of things that it shouldn't do chemically.
Right.
Instead of contracting anything else, you freeze it, it gets smaller. Water gets bigger. Why? Scientists don't even know.
Those are just kind of theories that have been kind of going through my head lately. And, if you mix all that up with limestone, if the place is, built with limestone or on with ground with limestone with it.
Yeah. I was just going to say that's a long held theory that, I've always heard since I got started here. if you've got limestone, if you've got water, those two things make a kind of a perfect storm because the limestone's really porous.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not the limestone, it's the water in the limestone.
Oh, that could be too.
Yeah.
Maybe,
So if you roll all that up into one and they have a great big thunderstorm.
Well, and that's another thing that we've talked about. Does a thunderstorm make it more active or less active? I've heard theories on both sides of that.
Mm-hmm.
We've done experiments on that. We've been to Edinburgh since that's what we're supposed to be talking about during a thunderstorm, and we didn't get too much more. But I'll be honest with you, what I can see is that thunderstorm creates so much ambient noise and rumbling movement that if someone's looking for something, you're gonna find it a lot more in a thunderstorm because there's so much background shit going on that you can pick things out and go, what was that? Oh, So,
right.
But as far as
I kind of think that thunderstorms don't really help much either, but then I've heard a theory for that is because there's too much electricity in the air. So, everybody's got a theory or, as John would call a narrative for everything too. So, who knows the truth?
Right.
Hey, we might someday.
I think John should come up with some stuff where kind of like slime from Ghostbusters.
Yes.
To see if it can make it to move and with energy and stuff.
Yeah,
I can do that. We got some there. In fact, Adam's got some too. It's called ferrous fluid. You put a magnet by it, it moves around and follows the magnet like it was metal.
Yes.
I mean, that's why we bought it, because we're going to take it on it, take it with us when we go on investigations and just leave it. Put a camera on. If it moves, there's some magnetic moving through. That fluid will move towards the magnet as if it was metal. So that's kind of cool.
Sarah, I hope that doll behind you doesn't move.
I know. That's why Adam hates it. That was my grandma's doll. When she passed, we got a ton of the stuff out of her house, and that was when he's mad that there's Lola, which is not really her name. I just getting caught now. Anyway. All right. Well, I suppose we should get on to Edinburgh, sir. So we will let you go.
All right. This was
fun. You had an excellent question, so thank you. As always, we very much appreciate your time. We will talk to you again soon.
Same here. Thank you very much.
All right. See ya.
Good night. You
Bye.
too. Later.
Yeah.
All right. I guess we didn't really do a proper start to this. I just kind of started recording. We just started talking. So, the reason that I wanted to talk about Edinburgh Manor was because first of all, it's a place that's really close to where we all live. We are in the Cedar Rapids, Iowa area. Adam and I are in Marion, which is a suburb, or John is in Cedar Rapids. So Edinburgh Manor is roughly 20 to 30 minutes from us, but it's also a really active building. And because of that, it's got a lot of national attention recently, which has then made it a place difficult for us locals who have been going there for a long time to get into, which kind of sucks, but is what it is. There's so much on Facebook and YouTube, not to mention the TV shows that have been there. And I feel like a lot of it is made up. I don't know, whatever. It started.
Say what you mean.
I know. You're right. I mean, it's made up. It's made up to make it sound more than it is. And the fact of the matter is, like I've said about so many other places, the real history of these places is just as fascinating. Malvern Manor, great example as well. We'll talk about that another time. But, so Edinburgh Manor is a building that we have all been to several times. You've heard us complain now. It's very hard for us to get into. Number one, we never know what the calendar is because they don't share that. So getting a weekend is near impossible. You heard us talk about how these two, John and Adam, had to go New Year's Eve because that was the closest they could get to a weekend. So that's what they're built.
What's stupid to me, really stupid, is by the time they bring the calendar out, they've let people book it up. So they bring the calendar out, basically that tells you that everything's booked.
Yeah.
Apart from crap days that no one wants.
Yeah.
So nobody gets a look in, so why bring the calendar out?
Yeah.
Well,
So obviously we're frustrated with that. I mean, great for the building because they're making a lot of money. I can tell you that the owner, Cindy, purchased the building in 2011, I believe, for right around $20,000. She got it in an auction. It was a hell of a deal for her. Great for her because she's clearly, obviously paid that off. Sorry, I'm flipping through my book and notes. I thought somewhere I maybe had the article about her buying the building. Great for her. It was a great return on purchase.
Which I got nothing against. I mean, my only beef is, why bother with a calendar when the only calendar you're going to bring out is one that's full?
I totally agree.
It's like I got a great restaurant, but you can't have a table unless it's 11 o'clock in the morning.
Well, and the other thing that's frustrating for people like ourselves as well is that the same groups, and God bless them because they got there before we did, but
no, they didn't know. But that's the whole point. They didn't because we didn't get a look. Sorry.
No,
I'm
you're
right. I will calm down. That's
right.
inside trading, and I don't like it.
You're right. They, you'll find the same groups who get in there and they're there like 3-4 weekends in the summer, which is optimal time to go. And we can't find a weekend until New Year's Eve to get in. So.
Yeah.
It's frustrating.
Freeze my cojones off.
Right.
And we have to be sober on a New Year's Eve. That sucks.
That is too.
Although, we wanted to experiment about what a drunk investigation looks like. So, maybe there's your key. So, I think most of the country found out about Edinburgh Manor when Ghost Adventures went there. And hopefully, if you listen to this show, you are smart enough to know that Ghost Adventures is nothing but nonsense.
Nonsense.
Yeah, sorry, I'm still flipping. I just really thought that I had the article about Cindy buying the building, but I don't see it here. There's actually lots you can find out about Edinburgh Manor if you look online, especially old newspaper articles. Interestingly enough, we were talking about limestone water. There is some ponds behind the building. They're not super close, but there are some water. There is some water near. There's probably water running underground below it. It is incredibly in the middle of nothing. I mean, there is nothing close to this place. It's on a paved road, so you do get some traffic going by there, but it's very intermittent. It's not like you're, like the Granger House, we're on a very busy corner of Marion. It's not like that at all. I thought I would start with a little bit of real history about the location itself. So, first thing I want to pitch rest was Edinburgh Manor was never an insane asylum. In this part of Iowa, Independence, Iowa has always housed the mental health hospital. It still does, as a matter of fact, and it's never been anywhere else. That doesn't.
I just came back from there.
Thank goodness. We're glad to have you out, John.
They already kept me for 6 months this time, though.
Understandably.
I don't listen to the voices in my head. I just keep killing.
Fantastic. And honestly, there's people there who do that. Seriously. And understandably, the hospital is not open for investigations, but everybody who works there has stories about it being haunted. They have opened it to tours before, and they sell out like instantaneously. I happen to know somebody who works there, and he's promised me a tour. We haven't quite gotten it scheduled yet over the past year, but we are going to do it, and I'm really excited about it. But that is the biggest piece of misconception about Edinburgh Manor. Because if you listen to the start of Ghost Adventures, they tell you that this was once an insane asylum, and it never was. And there are also pieces of information out there that list it as an insane asylum. It never was. Now, that doesn't mean that there weren't people there who, maybe had Alzheimer's. I mean, it turned into an elderly facility. So obviously there were people there who had,
I'm sure they were there. I'm sure there were people there when it was a poor farm. When it got, they'd put up all kinds of people that couldn't take care of themselves, and I'm sure a chunk of those were due to mental illness, but I wouldn't say they were raving lunatics.
No, and
Yeah.
if they were moved. And in fact, I have several articles of people who were moved to Independence and people who were brought back to Edinburgh from Independence because they were deemed rational enough to live there now. So it was never a place where you took like your criminally insane person there. The town of Edinburgh, which doesn't exist any longer, was originally going to be the county seat of Jones County. And that in 1840, they located where Edinburgh was supposed to be. Today, there's like a little village that you can visit, which is on the other side of the manor. I've never seen anybody over there, but I think they actually hold a festival there sometime. And actually, the land that the manor is on and the town was supposed to be on was signed over to Jones County from President Buchanan. Long story short, things didn't end up working out for Edinburgh being Jones County's county seat, and it was moved, and that was kind of the fall of everything for the town and why it doesn't exist today. But what they did do is they built this poor farm on it. The first poor farm was built 1850. And it was in operation until 1910, and they decided that the building was in too much disrepair that they needed to create another one. And I think at that time it was even only one story. So they knocked that one down in 1910, and then on the same site built what is there today. So the building that is currently standing was constructed between 1910 and 1911. And housed the poor, the elderly, people who didn't have money to take care of themselves, undesirables, probably alcoholics. You've got a whole range of people who are out there. And it was actually in service until November 2010. So it hasn't been closed for very long at all. And when you go out there, you think it's been closed for an eternity because it's awful out there. But 2010 is when they closed it officially. They ended up taking on, and I think at that time there were maybe like a dozen people still living out there, and they took them into Animos and put them in different care facilities. There's articles that were in the Jones County newspapers before they closed, and the people were really disappointed that they were having to move into town. They enjoyed very much being out in the country. It was beautiful out there, and none of them had anything real negative to say about the place. And in fact, and trust me, I have read tiny ass print in Jones County newspapers for like literally 100 years worth of stuff. And there were only a couple of places where I ever found anybody saying anything negative about that facility at all. One was a gentleman complained because I can't imagine how cold that place was in the winter when it was first built. And he complained that they only had like one blanket per person, which they probably were freezing their asses off.
My pudding's not soft anymore.
Yeah, exactly. But he threw such a fit about it that it made the newspapers. And I mean, I assume he eventually got another blanket or something. I don't know. But like blankets were the biggest. I never found anything that talked about mistreatment of anybody out there. In fact, when the boards met, the county boards met, they talked about everything that happened in their meeting, and they always talked about how good the facility looked. They'd go out and tour it and how good the facility looked, how happy everybody appeared to be. They raised livestock out there. They had crops, like they grew corn and stuff. And so the fact that the place is haunted has nothing to do with mistreatment, with mentally ill people being out there, none of it. But as John has pointed out before, that it's the places that did the most living that tend to be the most haunted. And I think that that's what happened at Edinburgh Manor. Now, I have come across lists of names of people who are out there. Not all of them died. I think, if I'm not mistaken, there were about 99 people who died out there in total. They had very minimal deaths per year, and they were typically due to old age. There were a few accidents. I mean, there were people who were hit by cars. There were people who ran away in the middle of winter, that kind of stuff. But
Didn't think that through, did they?
No. There's one girl who ran away in like February, and they found her in Cedar Rapids, and I don't think she had shoes on. I mean, so that wasn't terribly smart, but she was looking for a family.
Daddy.
Right. That might have been what was happening too.
My toes are cold.
Interestingly enough as well, there is a tiny, tiny cemetery directly across the street from the place. It's called Edinburgh Cemetery. And very few of the people who are buried there were actually at the facility as well.
Actually, none of them.
One.
No. Oh, one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because that's the Pioneer Cemetery. That's all the people that came across. Now, what there is that I cannot find, and that's one of my goals, is there's a potter's field somewhere. And I have never, and there's no record of it anywhere that I could ever find.
No, but people talk about it.
Yeah, so because they just put up like wooden crosses and that, and they'd rot, and then they'd dig someone else in the next year in the same place. So, I mean, if that's what you're looking for, there's a potter's field out there somewhere. I've got an idea where I think it is, but
field though. I mean,
but that's all I got is an idea. I got no, there's no way of proving it as far as the records go, unless I go out there with ground penetrating radar or something like that.
And I would actually, I'd like to go out there with dowsing rods. I know that that's, something people use.
Somebody gave me.
Yes.
Somebody gave me dowsing rods.
So
I'm going to do experiments. Yeah. No, I still think they're bullshit, but I'm going to do experiments with them.
Fair enough. I mean, I would like to go out there with them though sometime and just see what happens. I have a friend who helps people locate graves, she says, using them. I've never been with her, but she seems to believe in it, and I'd kind of like to, and maybe we can talk to her sometime on here.
Would she be open to an experiment?
For sure, I bet she would.
Because I want to put a dead raccoon in a bucket with a lid, and then put 9 other buckets with lids around it, and see if they cross at the dead raccoon bucket.
All right, I'm sure she'd be down. I don't know if it's going to work, but I'm sure she'd be down.
What do you mean it's not going to work?
I don't know.
Well, if it doesn't work, that proves it's bullshit. I mean, that's the whole point of the experiment.
Where are you getting this dead raccoon?
Better question.
I shall go out and bash one over the head with a rock.
Oh my god.
It's science!
Heat is falling!
Right.
I'll do it with a rat. I mean, rats seem good.
I don't want to know where you're getting that either.
I got a little dog that keeps barking that you might be able to do it with for a second.
Oh, baby.
God.
No, I think Gail would be open to doing, I mean, because she's very into it and very strong in her faith in it. So yeah, I think she would be open to that
I guess my point is every experiment I have ever seen, and if you go on YouTube, you can find them, has failed. I mean, the ones that find water, they've put a glass of water on a thing, they go across it with their dowsing rods, and they cross. And see, I can find water. Then they take that glass of water, they put it in a, not clear Tupperware container, put a lid on it, and put 9 other containers all the way around it, and the people don't know which one it's in. Guess what? They can't find the water. So, and it's the same. University of Iowa did one with dead bodies, where they knew where 2 graves were in the field, and they sent like 10 or 20 of these dowsers out that could find graves and said, put the flag in where the grave is. Not one of them got it, even close to it. So, that's where I'm coming from, as far as, I'm sorry, it can't be done. And I'd like, if someone really believes that they do it, and they're willing to take that experiment, and they do it, that's great. But I guess the hook on that whole experiment was, the great thing on that experiment was, when they showed these people they were getting it wrong, they all came up with an excuse why they couldn't do it, instead of going, well, maybe I can't do it. None of them will believe that they couldn't do it. Sorry. I just put a downer on it, didn't I? I'm sorry.
No, dowsing is something I'd like to talk about sometime, because it's something I'm not terribly familiar with But I can tell you I've seen dowsing rods do really weird things at the Granger house that I've never seen anybody have that experience. And they probably have, I just have never seen it. So it is something I'm interested in, and Gail maybe would be a better person to talk to about it because she probably knows more about it.
But that's the easiest thing in the world to prove. It either does its thing or it doesn't. I mean, that is the easy experiment to conduct, which is what I'd love to do.
But I'm saying I've not used them to find stuff. I've used them to try to communicate and have seen them do strange things. So your experiment doesn't affect my experience.
No, it doesn't. But your experience is subjective. You can't prove that you communicated, even if they move. But with a glass of water, you can.
Happening.
So can the people with the glass of water.
Well,
I'm being devil's advocate.
I know we're getting off topic, and I do want to talk about this sometime, and I do want to continue this discussion. And actually, I'd like to take you into the carriage house and see if I can repeat what was happening that day. Although I think I know why, but you won't agree with that either. Anyway, back to Edinburgh Manor.
Oh, that was passive aggressive. I call that. Doesn't matter what I do, you won't agree.
That's right. Just to be fair, we were contacted. I did post on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook earlier today that we were going to be recording the show tonight, and a tour guide from Edinburgh Manor did reach out and ask if we would like to interview him tonight because I have to work at Ass Crack tomorrow morning. I did pass this time, but I told him that we may be interested in talking to him in the future. But I do want to point out that they did ask us if we wanted to talk to them. So now part of, not to be down on this guy because I appreciated him reaching out, but he wanted to talk to us about names that people are getting out there. And we've talked before about, straight up how garbage it is when people are, coming up and saying, oh, I got this name and this name and this name.
What annoys me is, I know, so you've done a lot of research on Edinburgh. You've got a book full of people that were actually really there. I mean, names, and all kinds of details about them through research. Yes. What kind of put a thorn in my ear is that he is a tour guide, but his names are coming from mediums. Now, how does he decide who's a true medium, who isn't a true medium, what names are real, what aren't real? I mean, it's just lazy research. It's just like, I got a list of names that people have blurted out while they were here. I mean, to me, and you're a tour guide, for Christ's sakes. You should be doing your job. Sorry if you're listening.
Well, and I think, there's a lot of places that do that, like the Sarah Winchester house. That house has never been haunted. In fact, the way that story got started was Sarah was approached by a journalist and asked if he could interview her, and she said no. And so he created the story of her being chased by these ghosts, and she never once had seances. But if you go for a tour at the Winchester house to this day, they'll tell you that she held seances. I mean, so that's part of the problem with these places. Like, people,
money.
All right, go ahead.
I just said money. That's fine.
It pisses me off, quite frankly. And I don't mean any offense to this guy because we didn't have him on, so I don't know what his, we don't have his side of the story. I'm just saying I really hate when places perpetuate things by putting information out that is not backed up by anything.
Here's the thing. So, the thing that really annoys me, annoys too strong a word. The thing that really gives me a feeling of despair, that's a better way of putting it, is if you go to Edinburgh, you can catch stuff. I mean, we've had shit happen to us.
So active.
It doesn't need all this crap wrapped around it. Like the Joker, who's not there anymore, by the way. He lives back here with me in the bar.
Yeah.
And you can hear him on my podcast, so. But the thing is they don't need to do that. People will go there and get experiences. They don't need to, keep building all this bullshit and I'm sorry, some of it is bullshit. That's just the way it is. I mean, you will go in there, and it is a good place to go and investigate. They don't need to fill it all in like that with ballast.
I mean, we've had some of the craziest experiences out there. And, and we've investigated, the three of us have investigated out there together. And, I mean, shoot, we went last summer and had a really interesting...
It spooked Eric. It spooked Eric. Eric doesn't get spooked. He had footsteps walk past him in the squirrel cage. He didn't move. He's like, anybody there? Okay. When we were at Edinburgh, it's behind me, isn't it? I'm leaving.
And it was. I mean, it sounded like two men talking behind him in the room. He was sitting across the hall from me, and we were both sitting in the doorways. And I can also tell you that we heard what sounded like footsteps coming down the hall, but when you could just feel like there's times where you don't want to look because you're scared of what you're going to see. And we were having that kind of experience. Now, I know that kind of makes me a wimp as an investigator, but I didn't look. And he did come running back to the room with us.
So here's the thing. Anybody that goes there, because stuff always happens, like, not where you're at. You can hear it happening. It's like they keep their distance if they're spirits. So, and I always put that caveat just in case. But we were sitting there in the pool room, and that's where we hear a lot of stuff when we did it as WTF. And I've actually we heard a voice upstairs. I'm like, and it was me and Eric sitting there, and we were just sitting there. And if this was a daytime investigation, we called it day walk because we wanted to see, okay, people say, why do ghosts always come out at night? So we were like, okay, let's test the theory. And when we played it back, what we'd recorded, you can hear a voice pretty clear say, help me, like they'd fallen over.
Yeah. And
I work at a retirement home, and there is a lady in there, and she sits there, and all she says, and then the first time I thought I went and got a nurse, but that's all she does. She just sits there and says, help me the whole time. And it sounded just like her. I was like, oh, hell no, but, it's a retirement home. I'm hearing help me, so.
And the other interesting thing is almost every time we've gone out there, I've come back with EVPs of the same little girl's voice. And obviously we're not alone, because if you go out there now, and this also annoys the shit out of me, but there are toys everywhere.
Oh.
Like,
stop it, people. Stop leaving toys and dolls everywhere.
Please.
Let Goodwill come in and sell them.
God, right? But there's so many toys, but obviously other people were having encounters with this little girl as well. Now, there were children out there. It was a poor farm, and there were, unwed mothers out there, or, widows with small children. In fact, there's one lady who, she and her infant died of pneumonia. I mean, which was typical back in those days. So there were kids out there, so it's not, like, impossible to find her, but...
We had an EVP. I swear to God, it sounded just like the poltergeist thing. It was like, mommy! When she does it on the TV, it sounded just like that. I was looking around going, what the hell? Did someone have poltergeist on the TV? Oh, I know TVs. Mommy! What the? Yeah. So, I guess my point is, stuff happens out there. They don't need to cater to, how do I put this without pissing people off?
When did we hear?
Well, there are some people that go to extremes of belief. Let me put it that way. And they will make up every story and every little thing. And it's always children and there's always the same aspects to the story. And they run with it and it grows because they all talk to each other and they all believe each other. And, and I think that is the weakness with the para-unity thing where I was reading a thing on it today, like, oh, we're all after the same thing. No, what we're after is the truth, is what some of us are after. And what these people are doing is not the truth, and they don't get called out because it comes under para-unity, where you're not allowed to call out bullshit. Right. But you should be. But
I don't think there's anything evil out there. And that goes back to the Joker, too, because he's supposedly this evil guy. I've never been out there and felt like somebody wanted to hurt me or cause me any danger. Ever. Never. And I've been out there pretty close to a dozen times. Now, I'm certainly not the one who's been out there the most. There's certain people who've been out there more than but I've never been out there and felt like I was in danger or that anybody in my group was in danger. And I've taken my child out there. I wouldn't take my son out there if I thought he was going to get hurt. There's people, I've watched them go live and they
You're in sport. Come in that room.
I've watched people go live out there and they talk about smelling sulfur and feeling like there's demons out there and taking pictures of demonic figures. And I don't think that's real.
Yeah, and then people get the Mickey Mouse 3-finger scratch. I mean, come on, really?
Get started on that one.
That happens a lot out there.
The first place, I think Adam and for both of us, the first time we ever heard a disembodied voice was out at Edinburgh, and that's not abnormal out there.
Me too. That's what got me into this.
Yeah. I mean, kids, men, women down in the basement. My son and I stood for probably 5 minutes and listened to an old woman hum and whistle. I mean, it's giving me goosebumps thinking about it now, quite frankly. I mean, we asked a guy what his name was, and this is a weird story too, because there were 5 of us in the room, girl A and girl B, and then, Adam, then me, and then Chandrell. And girl A and B and Adam heard the guy say his name. No, Adam was sitting between Chandrell and I.
Mm-hmm.
Girl A and B, who were to my left, and Adam, who was to my right, heard the guy say his name. Chandrell and I didn't hear anything. And we were like, what are you guys freaking out about? Because they weren't losing their mind. In fact, girl A and B left after that. We went right back.
You forgot an old tradition that we have.
What is that?
There's not girl A and B. We make up names for people we
do.
Giselle and Alexandria.
Well, yeah. One of them I can't say many nice things about right now, so no good name is going to come out of my mouth, but...
Shitty Giselle and nice Alexandria.
Okay, we'll go with that. And they left. And so the 3 of us went back up to that room, and, Adam, Chandrell, and I kind of resumed our places where we were. And I forget what I had asked, but we've got the EVP, well, it's not EVP, we've got the recording of it. And it's very loud, and it's very clear, and it was an answer audibly no to the question that I asked. And Chandrell and I, who are on either side of Adam, both heard it, and we're like, what the fuck? In fact, that's exactly what I said. And Adam didn't hear it. I mean, so it's just, the craziest shit happens out there. Oh
nice.
My God, that's demonic.
That is.
I wish I would have taken a picture, y'all. John's becoming possessed currently.
Yep, by Budweiser.
I'm married. I am possessed by a woman.
His eyes were red and creepy.
Right.
What is written on them?
I want to know what everybody's very favorite experience out of Edinburgh Manor has been.
I have a question.
Okay, tell me.
Adam.
Yes.
You haven't said bugger all night.
No, I've been...
What do you think of Edinburgh? I'd like your opinion.
I mean, I think it's a guy. That's good. Yep. All right. We're done. We're out. Yep. Turn it off.
Come on, what's your opinion of Edinburgh?
I mean, I think it's a gotta-go place. I mean, I definitely think it can be a destination place for people that don't even live around here, and I think it's kind of become that. Maybe in some aspects for the wrong reasons. I've always enjoyed going out there. I mean, we've always had something. It's never been, I don't think I've ever, for lack of a better word, had a dead night out there.
Well, but even the nights that we thought that were really dead, we go back and we listen to the audio, and there's tons of stuff that was happening that we had no idea about.
Yep.
I know the ghost feeders go off a lot out there.
Yes.
They go off everywhere, which is why I like the ghost feeders.
Yeah.
Right. No, I completely agree.
And
I will say this, though. My opinion of the Ghost Adventures episode was that pretty much everything on there was fake. And I got a lot of flack from my group because I wrote a little editorial about it for our website when we had one. As much as I appreciated the young lady who was in the start of the episode because she had given us tours before, I thought that her experience was rather dramatized, and I had never heard her look scared in that building before. But you put Zach.
The scratches.
Yeah, you put Zach Baggins in front of her, and all of a sudden she's terrified of this building that she has spent billions of hours in. And nothing against her. I mean, I'm sure she was told to do that. I'm sure she wanted to be on TV, and she's a young girl, so I can't even be mad at her for it. But I do think it was dramatized. Josh, who was briefly involved with the Granger house, was also at the beginning of that. And actually, I kind of hope he comes back to the Granger house because I like Josh a lot. But I think that he kind of dramatized his relationship with the building a little bit too.
TV, that's the whole point of TV. Is your producers going, we need things to happen. Do this.
Yeah.
Like that. And not only that, even if you drama it a little bit and then you go, oh no, wait a minute, I'm going too far. They've got that little bit where you dramatized it already on camera and on film, snip, snip, edit, and all of a sudden, it all comes together and all you get is drama the whole bloody time.
I mean, the fact that they all went running, screaming from the building, and Zach got possessed, basically. And I mean, that's just not reality. That's just not reality.
I can't remember who we were talking to. Well, it's been a couple of times we've been there. One, I can't remember if it was the owner, but a couple of especially the first 2 or 3 times we went there, now they're just like, oh yeah, we know you, in you go. First couple of times you go there, they give you the spiel and that. And we talked about, and they said like Zach he was hardly in the damn building. He stayed in the back house most of the time, or in his trailer, came out, did his thing, left again. He wasn't doing any kind of fucking. And not only that, but one of them said something did happen while they were in there. They left and left their equipment laying around and came back and got it the next morning. So, well done.
And they came in April, and April in the Iowa is never nice. And of course, we went into a tornado watch that day. And I remember, I worked at Lima Lake. I remember my friend saw that Ghost Adventures was in town and started texting me immediately. So I remember the day very clearly. But of course, he said it was because he was in town and the demons were trying to keep him from the building.
Yeah, but he's a fucking idiot. I mean, come on, really, he is.
John, why don't you tell us how you really feel?
Well, actually, I ended up, I don't know if I said this the other episode, but I was doing some research on Zach Baggins because he wrote that book, or didn't write that book, he plagiarized that book.
Right.
Yeah, and I ended up on the Zach Baggins Facebook fan site on Facebook. There is not enough vomit in the world to justify that site.
And they are so devoted. Oh my God, are they devoted?
They want his glasses, they want his underwear, they want everything.
Yes. Okay, but back to the building. So, John, we'll start with you. What has been tell us your favorite experience in Edinburgh Manor?
They're all favorite. I love going there, which is why I'm probably my outrage of not being able to go there with this stupid fucking calendar thing is probably more than it should be. But, I mean, I get they need to book it up, but come on, guys, stop having people book it all up for the whole year behind the scenes and then bringing out a calendar and going, look, here's all the dates you can't go.
Right.
That's all the fucking dates. Well, don't even bring it out. I don't give a shit. Close down. As far as I'm concerned, because I can't get in anyway. No, but like I say, Edinburgh is what got me into doing this. I was a total skeptic. Some people still think I am. I'm not. I just don't like the stories. No, I'm not. I mean, I believe that ghosts are possible. But investigate. Don't tell stories. That's where I come from.
Okay.
So, but I was there and I heard children's voices as clear as, anything. That's what made me go, okay, there's something to this. The other thing is when I go there with the ghost feeder, which is a metal detector, that thing goes off an inordinate amount. I mean, like crazy. I hear whispers. I've heard voices. I picked up good recordings, which to me is solid evidence. It's not me telling someone, oh, I heard this or I felt that or a name came across. I mean, I have hard recordings and video, which is what everybody should strive for, and I'm preaching. So, The point being is, I mean, no, really. I mean, if you have all these experiences, you'd think you catch one or two of them, wouldn't you? So,
Right.
but, we've got stuff at Edinburgh where I'm like, look, what else could this be? And that's one of the few places I go where I can pick that kind of stuff up, and go, when I come back, I'm actually really looking forward to listening to it. Some places I go, I'm like, well, probably nothing, but I'll listen through all of it. But Edinburgh, I actually look forward to listening to it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I completely agree with you. I mean, I love that building, and I agree. It does make me very sad and frustrated that we have such a hard time getting in there.
Not just us, anybody.
Well,
all the people that have never been there can't go in there.
right. And I was just flipping through American Hauntings, which is Troy Taylor's group, who is plagiarized by Zach Bagans, mind you. And I don't know if you listened to our show, you may have remembered last year when because they do ghost hunts, and he had set up an investigation there for I think it was October 1st or something, and the date got double booked, which is also a problem with not having access to the calendar. And so he ended up getting a better day, so it kind of worked out in his favor. But I was just flipping through to see when they were going to be there because I thought, I'll mention it. But I don't see that they've got it on their calendar that they're even going back there. I would suspect that maybe later this year we'll see something. But as of right now, they maybe are even having trouble getting in.
Which is fine for Edinburgh, but what I would do, if you are that popular, just open the calendar up for the next 3 years. Because you're going to be around for the next 3 years if you're that popular. And let people, if I can't go this year, that's fine. I'll get a jump on next summer.
But here's my issue partially.
Well, it's the same group.
You said well, that's my huge issue. But you guys told me that she had put a new roof on, and that we're trying to put a new roof on the Granger house. I know how, I'm sure it's not $30,000, but I know how expensive roofs are, and that's no small feat, so I'm glad that she did that. But when you walk in there, there's so much shit that has been there since 2010 and well before, and I'm not talking about beds and shit like that. I'm talking about jars full of some type of food substance, the fans that are all bent downwards because there's absolutely no climate control.
That's on purpose. I mean, come on.
But what about the mold on the fucking walls?
Yeah, but that's on purpose. That's to give you the ambiance, the environment, the
kind of scene. Look at this dilapidated.
Okay, well, but that's why it's not going to be there forever, because what cracks me up though, and I don't even care because it obviously isn't stopping me from going. So whatever, they can do whatever they want. But she wanted to make that a bed and breakfast. That was her initial intention with building.
Why? Who the fuck's going to stay out there in the middle of nowhere?
But that's why the old people were sad about moving into town, because they liked it out there where it's peaceful and quiet and.
They had nowhere else to go anyway.
I know that, but
bed and breakfast, I got other places to go. I can go to Anamosa. No, I mean, really, bed and breakfast, that's a stupid idea.
Well, there's no purpose.
She didn't do it. Obviously. She just turned it into a haunted place.
Yeah, making more money out of it, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Guarantee it.
So, not related to the Granger house, not related to Edinburgh Manor, but as I'm flipping through American Hauntings, I'm just going to tell folks.
Plug.
Yeah. If you are interested in doing an investigation, American Hauntings is going to be at the Granger house on June 5th. So you can go to their website. It's just bumpinthenight.net. And you can see all the places that they're going in on June 5th of this year. They'll be at the Granger house. Although I was just flipping through too, and there's some places on here that I am actually really kind of excited that they're going. The Grand Opera House in Dubuque, I didn't know they let anybody investigate there. So the fact that they're going there is really cool. And then the old Cedar County Jail in Tipton, which now I really want to go to. So check out bumpinthenight.net and sign up for the Granger House one, because you're going to love it. Adam, what was your favorite experience at Edinburgh Manor?
Well, I would say maybe not my favorite, but most memorable for me was the time we were on the second floor. I think we were just setting up cameras, getting ready for the day, the night, I should say. And I got so sick randomly out of nowhere, like
No, we had just started.
dizzy,
It was our first
stomach,
vigil
like I
of the
was
night.
gonna throw up, all that kind of stuff. Couldn't figure out really what was going on. I felt fine all day up until that point. Went outside after a couple minutes of that and felt fine.
Yeah.
So it was an uncomfortable experience, but it was definitely memorable. It's one I'll never forget. And I can't explain it, don't know what happened, but that was probably one of my most memorable moments. And the time that Sarah got scared by some scratching on a door and she peed her pants.
I did
it was
not
hilarious.
really pee, but it was scary.
I think you did pee your pants, actually.
I don't know.
Did you get a sense of aroma?
No!
I smell pee.
But
Old people will used to live here. That's why. No, it's because I peed myself.
no, it was down in that damn boiler room. And this is one of my favorite experiences. The boiler room looks like a typical Freddy Krueger boiler room. It's creepy down there and it's dark and you have to go down some steps to get down there. When our group had been out there, and this was, probably like 5th, 6th, 7th time out there. So we just decided as a group we were going to save the boiler room for last. And nobody was going to go in there, and that was going to be where we did our last group vigil together. And so we did. Everybody stayed out of there. And that night had already been kind of interesting and relatively active. I can tell you that on the women's side, first floor, there's a big room that has lots of beds in it. We had been in there, and just a few of the girls in the group, and we had tried to investigate based on the men's side and women's side. And I was laying on a bed and asked for a knocking on the door or on the wall, and there was a very audible knock on the wall right above me. I mean, like, that's cool. You don't just get that everywhere. I mean, and it was a very already kind of intense night, and we finally got down to our vigil in the boiler room and started by hearing furniture above us start sliding around. And in fact, one of the rooms we heard it sliding around in, we had our trap cam set up. And I can tell you that when we checked them the next day, all but 3 pictures had one of us in it. But there were 2 or 3 pictures taken about the time we heard the furniture move, and nobody's in them. And that's because we were all downstairs at the time. But
First time we went there with Eric, he had a cell phone. We've got, and I'm trying like hell to debunk it, because he's just panning around with his cell phone. Anybody here? And you can see a chair move.
Yeah.
I mean, plain as day. And I cannot make my mind up if it's the chair or because there were 2 people in there with, the flashlights on their head, that it was like the lights moving across and making a shadow move.
Is that something you share on our social media sites?
I can.
Okay, that'll be great.
But the thing is, I was like, it's got to be a shadow. It's shadows. The 2 lights coming, there's a shadow and another shadow, and the lights are moving, therefore the shadow of the chair is moving. Debunked. But you have to really look. Well, but the thing is, so the next time we went back, this was top of mind for us. So I sat there for an hour with flashlights, trying to get the same damn effect. Going, left, right, okay, who was looking where and doing it? Could not get it. I could not get that chair moving or looking like it moved, doing the same thing. So could it still be headlights? I'm sure it could. Yeah. But, that's the thing, leap of faith.
Yeah.
So
sometimes
it's spooky as crap, though. I almost the F word. I'm only allowed so many F words per thing, apparently.
Well, let's throw the video out there and see what happens.
All right. I was
other people get.
Yeah. But Eric took that on a cell phone, so it's kind of a shitty video, which annoys the crap out of me too, because it's the same old, why are UFOs always shitty videos? Why is Bigfoot always shitty videos? When you get a ghost, why is that always a shitty video? Well, and I've come to the conclusion that because you're not expecting it to happen. Because if it is a really good video, chances are it's staged because you knew it was going to happen.
Well, and look at the picture I took of Eric when we were out there on my cell phone, not intending to catch anything.
I tried to debunk that too.
So we'll put that out there as well. Again, I'm sure people have seen it, but yeah, I'll re-put that out again. Anyway, so the night that the furniture started to move, the furniture kind of stopped, and we were trying to figure out what was going on, and then all of a sudden, I was sitting on some metal steps that kind of lead to a door that should go outside, and something started scratching on it. Now, it could have been an animal, but in my head, it was a mouse. And that's probably why I got as scared as I did. And I whispered for Adam to come get me because I was scared to get down by myself.
My was just released. I just broke.
But Adam did find out later that there's a door to the outside, and then there's space between that door and the door I was sitting in front of, and it would have been really hard for an animal to get in there. So I don't know what was scratching, but it did scare the shit out of me. But shortly after that, all of a sudden, it sounded like there were no less than 10 people right outside. Mm-hmm. And we sat there and listened and talked about what we were going to do, because it's not unusual for people to drive through there while you're investigating. So we went, what?
No, we had it. Remember, Adam?
Yes.
Go open the door.
Yeah, those girls, I forgot.
Yeah. Like, you have the worst friends ever. Because they all let you stand here like an idiot.
She crept up to the door to take pictures, and we made them jump. Her friends fucked off in the car and left us standing there. It's like, you need better friends.
Exactly. So we assumed that's what was happening with these. They were loud as fuck. And we're like, okay, great, there's drunk people here. We went flying up and I shouldn't say we, Adam and some of the other guys went flying up the stairs, and there's nobody out there. There's no cars, there's no people, there's nothing. My son and I took the thermal camera, went all the way around the building, nobody anywhere. So it was a very bizarre night. That's probably my favorite. We had just a plethora of different experiences out there that night.
And you know what? If the people from Edinburgh actually listen to this, there's a couple of things that I would like to say, if I may.
Yeah.
One is, come on, sort your freaking calendar out, because bringing out a calendar that's full is no use to man nor beast, really, and it's not. Letting people book up X amount of weeks in advance, I mean, it's good for you. If you want to do it, that's fine, but, what's the point? And then the other one is, so we did a day experiment. We had less hours because we had to turn up after people had left. We had to go before people show up. So you have less hours, but you charge the same amount.
And that's
now, if you think about it, if you want to actually, okay, so it's booked up full. We get it. Can we do a day experiment? So it's like a 6-hour one or whatever, you don't get like fucking 12 hours. It's a 6-hour one, don't make us pay the same amount.
Oh.
And and that's fine. I got nothing against that. I'll go and do a day experiment, every weekend, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, and in fact,
because just as much.
Yeah, Seeking the Paranormal is committed to doing a day investigation out there, but I totally agree. We should not have to pay the same amount for half the time.
Because because by the time we set up, you don't get that much of an investigation because, you have to set up, you have to get all your gear there and all that stuff, and then you have to pack down before anybody else shows up and be gone. So, if you are listening to this, I mean, if you want to, if you're booked up for the year, I get it, alright? Just freaking don't bring out the calendar and go, oh, our new calendar's out, and I go rushing to it going, well, fuck, it's full already, what's the point? So, but days, I'll do them Saturday, Sunday, whatever. And that's good because we work. So, I can do a day investigation without having to worry about, well, I can only do it on certain days because I have to work next day.
Yeah.
Day investigation. There you go. So put that down as a possibility, and there you go. You've solved the problem already. You want to fill up with the clicky groups before it comes out, that's fine. But give us a day investigation, whatever. But, and the other thing, instead of think about, are you really there to say this place is haunted honestly, or are you there to say this place is haunted, come check it out and throw us your money? Because those are two different mindsets. If it's haunted and you want people to go there, instead of getting people like Ghost Adventures, get people like the SPR in. They'll do it, but they'll do it properly. And that's the problem. Are you scared of people doing it properly? Because maybe it's not haunted and it's just stories and mediums and we got all these names through mediums, or is it haunted? What do you actually believe? I guess is my thing. If you don't really believe it's haunted, I can see why you do what you do. But if you actually believe it's haunted, wouldn't you want to get someone to go in and say, no, we've got credentials. We're not fucking Zach Baggins where everything's haunted. Where people say if things are haunted or not, and this is haunted. Wouldn't that be a better way to go? I think.
I get why she did it because if I say we wouldn't let
I'm never going to be allowed in there again, am I?
That's okay. I say, if Ghost Adventures wanted to the Ranger House, I tell them no. But the fact of the matter is, it betters the business, so absolutely I'd let them in.
Honestly, if they paid the rest of your roof, you'd let them in.
Fuck yeah, I would.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Stupid not to.
And I'm the goddamn president. I'd be like, welcome, Zach Baggins.
Yeah,
I like
so
you.
I can't even.
I got a little English friend that'd like to talk to you.
I totally get why she did it, but I do agree with some of the stuff you said. I think Cindy's a hard one to get a read off of. I don't know what her paranormal beliefs are. I don't know if she just repeats stuff to us because she thinks we're all crazy, or if she really thinks that's happening out there.
I think the thing is, if she doesn't believe, you are never going to get her to say that she doesn't believe because that's her income. I mean, and I get that, and that's fine. I'm not going to say she doesn't. I'm not going to call her a liar. She's actually a really nice person.
She is. And I will tell you what, her building is incredibly reasonably priced. For as big as it is, it's reasonably priced.
So all the pluses, it's just...
The calendar really is our only thing.
We want in! Let us in! Stop shutting us out.
I totally...
No, it's not just that. The other thing that annoys me is the bullshit that, and she probably has no control over that because they're all volunteers. So the people that volunteer for that, a lot of them are the ones that want the drama and the stories and, pick better volunteers.
Yeah.
Now I've pissed all the volunteers off as well. So I'm really getting back in there. But
here's a funny side note. There was a girl out there. I don't know if she's still affiliated out there or not. I think she came and investigated the Granger house one night by herself. And she had been out to the Edinburgh constantly by herself. She left early at the Granger house because she got scared, which is really weird. Just a super side note.
Granger house is not scary.
I don't think so.
I don't mean to,
It's not. And anybody who comes back and has a story about it being so, I'm sorry, I'm not going to take you too terribly serious because we're active, but we're not scary.
Yeah, and that's just it. People seem to need it to be scary to be active. That's not true. No. What is true? There are a lot of places that are active, but they're subtle as fuck. And they are very subtle. And you have to sit there and just shut the fuck up and stop talking and put the face in front of the camera and actually investigate. And that's my view. That's where we've had the best luck as far as the investigations I've been on. But,
Yes.
I'm a pariah.
I'm gonna wrap it up here. My intention of doing this was, number one, to make everybody realize that it's not what TV says it is, but that despite that, it's still a really cool place. Yeah, I really don't see you walking away being disappointed. I mean, if you're truly involved in this field. Now, I had a friend who I used to work with who watched all the TV shows but had never investigated, and decided one day that she and her fiance were going to go out there by themselves. First investigation ever, and they expected it to be just like TV, and they were so disappointed. And she was pissed. It's not TV. It's not going to ever be.
Does it that way though? Maybe that's why they ramp it up, because everybody that goes there is brought up on this TV nonsense.
I know.
So they have to play that. You know, I don't know.
I wanted to share real history of Edinburgh Manor, and I felt somebody needed to put the real shit out there and not keep perpetuating what's on TV, because it's not like that. But it's still very active. It's still very cool. And if you've got John Black saying that some place is likely haunted, you know it's going to be a good place. So if you can ever get out there,
Right.
good luck, but do it.
Yeah.
Like I said, at the very least, watch places like the
American Hauntings.
Yeah, what is the website? I forgot it already, but I said it a while ago. Look there for their, because I think they'll be back probably around October. And there's other groups that do public investigations. I don't know them all, and I can't attest to how well they do. I will stand behind American Hauntings because I know the person who owns the damn joint, and he's a pretty stand-up fella, so I trust them.
One more thing.
Yeah.
Before we end. So, well, you all laughed at that before. It's all good.
It's just one more thing.
No, I know. Yeah. This is one thing I have to mention though, because when we first got to know each other, and our group had been to Edinburgh about 4 times, 5 times, and we'd heard all the stories about, from the tour guys, from mediums, and then Sarah popped up, and she's got a book, and she did a crap ton of real research. So that's, I guess my point being is, that impressed the crap out of me, because I'm not one for the narratives. So I'm like, man, she's actually done the real research. So.
But it's out there, and it's not stuff that just I found. I rely heavily on newspapers.com because you can go back, but a lot of public libraries now have old newspaper archives that you can go back into. And all you have to do is search, Edinburgh Manor, whatever, Jones County Poor Farm. And then, there's all kinds of geological, good lord. Geological sites that have information too. So there's so much information out there, you just have to go find it. And the problem is not enough people do. Now, I do try when we go places, I do make an effort to fill one of these little binders, just a 1-inch binder. I try to get as much information about the place we're going as I can. I will admit, Squirrel Cage Jail, I kind of slacked on. That one I didn't.
That's good, because you do it after. That's when you're supposed to do it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you start filling in the blanks.
I was pretty excited, though, because I think it was Eric had one of the names that y'all had maybe gotten off of an EVP or something, and he found it in my book, in my records. So that was pretty cool, too. So
your records are good enough you can't remember every name. So that's good.
Yeah. They're actual records from the location of people who were there. And, some of them have a date on them when they passed. A lot of more of them have dates when they left, not dead. But the information's out there. I'm not.
Old people say when you leave, the guy at the door is going, "You'll be back." But I'm dying. You'll be back.
I will share one really kind of funny story that I did find in the newspapers. God, I can't even tell you how small the print was in newspapers in the 1800s, though, folks. It was tiny. Anyway, there was
back then.
Right.
You know why? They didn't have internet. They didn't have the porn. And porn makes your eyesight go bad.
Oh, that's right.
That's my logic.
There was one man out there in the paper. I just remember this story, and I don't remember all the details without finding it specifically. But there was something he was supposed to be helping with some task, and he took a nap instead, and they ended up burying him up to his waist and made him stay out there overnight because he didn't help. So I just thought that was funny.
I'd like to say that's happened to me. I'd be like,
So the point is, do your part of the work when you're supposed to out at the poor farm. All right. So real quick, let's talk about where we can find you. You are doing Phantom Science now. Your podcast is on Sundays at 9?
7 Central, 8 Eastern. I love the way you don't know that. You don't even listen to it. See, I like ours. And nobody likes it.
Don't listen on.
We're going to start going live a lot more often because apparently our last one ruffled feathers. So I'd like to, well, I don't know, but I'd like to be available for people to go, you're full of shit, and then be able to defend myself.
I will admit, we listen to podcasts in the car, so I don't listen to them live terribly often, but we do listen to them in the car. So I think we're only one down on yours. So we do listen to yours. In fact, we listen to this one, which I know you don't do that either. So.
I know. No, I'm in it. So I don't listen to mine, to be honest with you. The only time I listen to them is when they're live. So.
That's fair. That's fair. So people can find you on Spreaker, Paranormal Buzz Radio, Sundays, 7, and you're every week, right?
Yes.
Okay. And it's John and Nico, Phantom Science.
Yes.
And your website is phantomscience.net, right?
That's correct.
And that'll give you a link to the Facebook and the YouTube. And if you want to find all of us, you can do so at Seeking the Paranormal. We're newly on Instagram, and I barely know what I'm doing, so be patient with me. But we are on Instagram.
Just stop taking pictures just because you got Instagram.
I know.
That can be a bad moment.
So we're on Instagram now. We are on Twitter and Facebook as well. And on our Facebook page, pinned to the top, is access to Amazon where you can get John's current book, Leaps of Faith. It's by J.M. Black.
Go buy it.
Go buy it. Go buy it. It's so good. I want people to read it.
It's just a money grab. I've read it.
Oh my God. It is not. It is such a good book. And I would love to have a live episode where we talk about the book. So maybe that is in the cards for us sometime.
Except no one's ever read it. So it'll be like, although I will say, I got an email from the SPR. They wanted
Yes!
Yeah.
Excited!
They're probably going to tear it a new one, and I'll be like, oh, shit.
They're not.
Well,
you did very good research, and you backed it up with a scientist, so no, you did excellent. So I have no worries about that at all. And in fact, I'm very excited about your next book.
Probably why people aren't going to like it, because I try to back it up with science. So
Oh, because, you know.
What do you mean orbs aren't real? What a bastard.
Right.
You just say my room is dusty. I clean twice a week and then take pictures.
Listen, I barely know what I'm doing on Instagram, but there was a gentleman who, actually, I don't even think it's a person. I think it was a group that maybe just recently started following us. And what?
You said he wasn't a person, he was a group. He's schizophrenic. There's like 18 personalities.
Oh.
He's a group. He's not a person.
I think it was a group page that followed us. And I followed them back, and I did notice that the picture that they had most recently posted was a glowing hair or piece of debris that they were assuming was paranormal. But that's okay.
Yeah. Listen, this is a ghost that always shows up after I've had sex. It's a curly kind of,
Stop! Oh my God.
He's always in my teeth.
God.
Well, good for him.
Ah.
Or either one.
Don't smile.
Jesus.
Need a shot of John's menthol after that.
We have no listeners because it's
having
so
fun so people can have.
and it always comes back to sex with us. Always
No.
comes back to sex.
Bill Clinton said oral sex isn't sex.
Well, if Bill Clinton said it.
No, because I know because there was a lot of people calling their hookers wanting their money back.
You are awful. Just in case you were curious about that.
Oh, goodness.
Okay, so we're gonna call it quits for tonight. I gotta take my butt to bed. I hope that we have kind of filled in some blanks maybe for you about Edinburgh Manor, and I do hope that you reach out. Alright, thank you all for listening. Check us out, like us, do whatever you gotta do. Leave us a message, have an opinion, that's cool too.
I know, hate us if you want to, we don't care.
We will be back every other week, so not next Monday, the following Monday, we'll be back with a new show, maybe on orbs and dimensional travelers. You don't know. Anyway, y'all, have a good night. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
We're out. Please let us be out for the love of God.